Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. In this tutorial, we'll be learning how to add a beaded border to a cross-stitch keychain. If we haven't met before, my name is Angela and I own a small business called Angela Design Co., where I'm joined by my mom, auntie, and cousin to make handmade jewelry, apparel, accessories, and more. Let's go over a list of supplies for this tutorial before we get started. For this project, you will need a finished cross-stitch piece on a plastic mesh canvas. I like to get my patterns like this one from Colorfully Sarah shop. You will also need Pellon 70 or stiffened felt, faux leather backing, size 11 beading needles, size D nymo thread, 4mm rondelle bead, size 11 seed beads, assorted glass and acrylic beads, assorted eye pins, jump rings, a small lobster claw clasp, small pliers, embroidery scissors, and Gorilla Super Glue Gel. I will have a link to supplies if you are interested. Once you have finished cross-stitching your piece for a keychain and you've cut it out, you will prep the backing for a beaded edge border. I like to do this by adding stabilizer for added structure and support to my keychain. I'm using Pellon 70, but any stiffened felt will work. Then I will flip the cross-stitch piece over and add a tiny bit of Gorilla Super Glue Gel to the back of the piece and adhere it to the stabilizer. You don't want to add too much glue or it'll become too hardened or it might seep through the cross-stitch on the front. Next, I will use my embroidery scissors to trim around the piece. I like to trim a little bit inwards to make the stabilizer slightly smaller than the cross-stitch piece. I like to use faux leather to back my keychain since it's more durable than felt. I will glue the piece onto the back of the faux leather, making sure I'm adhering the stabilizer side to the back of the faux leather piece so the pretty side is showing on the back of the keychain. Then I will trim any excess, making sure to remain even with the front side of the piece. Now you will see that you have a layered piece with the cross stitch on the plastic mesh canvas, the Pellon, and a faux leather backing. Once I prep my piece, I'm ready to bead. I will take my size 11 beading needle and about a wingspan worth of size D nymo thread. Before I begin beading, I like to take beeswax to condition my thread to prevent any unwanted knots. I'll press the thread between the wax and my finger, pulling through to coat the thread. Then I will take the coated thread between my fingers to evenly disperse the wax. To thread my beading needle, I like to pinch the thread between my thumb and finger until there is barely any thread showing. Then I will place the eye of the needle over the thread and pull through my fingers while I'm still pinching. Then I will tie a few knots at both ends of the thread to double it up. You can tie your knots however you prefer, but here's how I like to tie several knots at once. Then I will trim the excess thread and pull from the knot end towards the needle so I can ensure the needle is centered in between the thread. From here, I will take my piece and place my needle from the inside of the faux leather going out so my knot is hidden in between the layers. Then I will string on 2 seed beads and go through the hole in the cross-stitch piece, going through all the layers and coming out of the faux leather side, pulling my thread gently to prevent any unwanted knots. Then I will go through the last bead or the bead closest to the backing from the bottom towards the top. Next, I will add on my first rondelle bead. I'll grab 1 rondelle bead and 1 seed bead. So you will see that there's 1 big bead and 1 little bead. Then I will repeat the same process going through the whole of the cross-stitch piece coming out from the backing side. Then I will go back through the seed bead from the bottom towards the top. Next, I will string on 2 seed beads again and repeat the process of going through the layers, then through the last bead from the bottom towards the top. Now I'm going to add on a different color rondelle bead for some added dimension. I'll string on one big bead and one little bead, going through the piece from the front to the back. Then I will go through the small bead from the bottom towards the top. I'll continue adding beads in this pattern, which will be 2 little beads and then 1 big bead, 1 little bead, 2 little beads, 1 big bead, 1 little bead, all around the piece. Now that I'm about halfway through, I'll finish adding the beads off camera and meet you back towards the end to show you how to finish the piece. Now that I'm close to where I started, I'm going to only add on the seed beads for the remainder of the piece so that I have enough room to add on my keychain pieces. I'm going to repeat the process by stringing on 2 seed beads, going through the piece from the front to the back, then going through the small seed bead from the bottom towards the top. I will add on my final 2 seed beads. After I went through the last bead, to have a seamless finish, I will go through the very first bead we added to our piece, like this. Now I'm going to tie a knot to finish. I'll do this by going through the bridge of thread between 2 beads, pulling slowly until I have a small loop, like this. Then I will go through the loop to tie a knot. To hide the knot a little, I'm going to go down through the bead next to the knot and then pull taut. Then I will trim the thread. Now you've finished adding your beads. Your keychain now has a nice backing and a clean, seamless beaded border. Next, I will show you how to finish assembling your keychain. For the finishing touch, I like to take an eye pin and add on about 4 different glass or acrylic beads. I will take my assorted mix and pick out my beads. I like to add a mixture of small and large beads for that added dimension. This isn't necessary, but I really like this looper tool to add a loop and trim my eye pin. You just place your eye pin through the looper as close to your beads as possible and squeeze. Now I have another loop on my eye pin. Next, I will take a small jump ring and string it onto the open end of my eye pin. Then I will use my pliers to close the eye pin. Now I will open my jump ring and add my small lobster claw clasp and close the jump ring. I like to use 2 pliers for this because sometimes it helps ensure that the jump ring is fully closed. Now you have your keychain and your beads, and all that's left is to attach your cross stitch piece. I will open another jump ring and carefully thread it through the top center hole of the cross stitch piece. You want to make sure that it's going through the canvas piece and not the threads of the beaded border for that extra support. Then I will add the open eye pin side of my keychain to the jump ring and close it, making sure that the jump ring is fully closed with my pliers. And that's it. That's how you can take your cross-stitch keychains to the next level with a beaded border. If you made it this far in the video, please comment what tutorial you'd want to see next. Until then, see you next time, and happy beading!